personal fulfillment and inner power and finding inner strength, developing inner strength and how to find strength. And hey, I've got a few principles I want to point at you too from A Course in Miracles. And also I want to touch on how to do mindfulness meditation exercises for a better life. And thanks for joining me today. This is James Nussbaumer for A Better Life podcast. And I hope you're doing well. And I wanted to start by saying that Pamela and Darren from Clovelly, England, about 250 miles maybe away from England, London, England, I'm saying, said, hey, in your second book of the series, Jim, you talked about, idols. Can you touch a little bit about on what an idol really means, and why does an idol set us back in life to actually achieving what we want in life? But really, I mean something that, how often, let me ask you this, do you seek for personal fulfillment and try to find your strengths, your true inner power, by searching for some source far outside of you? You know what I mean? By the way, in the description area down below of this YouTube video, if you're at YouTube, and if you're at my website listening to this, there is a link there as well that will give you access to a free ebook by a fellow author of mine that I highly recommend. It's got a video if you want to get that too, that's also for free, that will be included in the link below, a very safe link, by the way. I would never offer to you otherwise, on the power of manifestation and how to get by all the stuff and go deep within to actually create the life that you want. So I hope you'll access that. But, is there really something out there, something far out there that's going to deliver to you some power that you don't already have, that you don't possess? Can we personally transform this helpless and scarcity mindset that's controlling our thoughts, called the ego, for those of you that have read my books? But this is a concern that might appear complex for many of us, all around the world, since, much of humankind for centuries has been looking someplace out there to bring us the life that we really desire. By the way, read more on a related article about this subject at my blog, jamesnussbaumer.com/ you can put in The Life You Imagine, and that will get you to that related article that may answer some questions too that this podcast today, that this For a Better Life podcast may not answer. But individual satisfaction is relentless, don't you think? And certainly is personal fulfillment when you are aligned to your true free will and painting your own portrait called your life while in this world, we can say. And this painting of your own portrait is the habits of highly effective individuals who have ever walked this earth, and to this day is how successful people grow and continue to help the world grow. So, while you create this portrait of your own, don't forget that the universe is waiting just to help you along the way. By the way, let me give you a principle from A Course in Miracles. And by the way, if you're at YouTube, I've also noted this in the description area down below, this principle, so you can jot it down later for use in prayer or meditation, however you wish. And if you're at my blog listening to this, in the conclusion area of this blog article, I've got this principle stated there, so you can jot it down there. But it says, A Course in Miracles states, how gracious it is to decide all things through Him, whose equal love is giving equally to all alike. He leaves you no one outside you. Yes, He leaves no one outside you. He leaves you no one outside you, meaning we're all whole, W-H-O-L-E, and interconnected. Beyond the body, satisfaction with, finding this kind of inner strength sounds like a keen concept, I think. Don't you agree? But, the obstacle for many of us all over the globe is this, and it's truly accepting it and understanding it by uncovering, not finding, uncovering your inner power and moving boldly on a course with it, helping you along the way. That is why your journey, a pathway, we can say, if you will, to personal fulfillment is going to take some special determination, as well as present various some chances that you got to take to align with it. If you are at one with it and immersing yourself in living and caring and discovering and following those ahead of you, in leading the ones behind you in the procession line, leading them, or them, and you following the ones ahead of you in this procession line to wholeness, we could say wholeheartedness if you'd like, and doing so with thankfulness. Yes, being so gracious, then you have uncovered your inner power. Now, let's move on and say, discovering your own strength. As, by the way, Pamela and Darren of Clovelly, England, they have been following me since my first book was written, and they say that it was, now I kind of know them personally because they're of my mastermind group, and they say that they bought my first book and read it before I was even released from prison a little over 3 years ago for that foolish securities violation. Well, which I say was foolish on my part, but also foolish in the, it was overtly political, but I've gotten over that. I spent 8 years of a 10-year prison sentence in a state penitentiary, but I'm not going to dwell on that. For those of you that have read my books, by the way, book number 3 is just now released, called And Then I Knew My Abundance. But I've got an ever-developing series going on that's all the way up to many books ahead by Ozark Mountain Publishing Company. Oh, what a tremendous publisher. But anyways, the first book, The Master of Everything, a story of mankind in the world of illusion we call life, is what Pamela and Darren, and she says, she goes by Pamela, no Pam or not Pammy, just Pamela. But Darren is the one that brought it up and said that he had bought that first book and he had calculated it out that I wasn't even out of prison yet when him and Pamela read my first book. And, that thrills me to death. And so that thrill that I'm extending to you, I hope you'll keep that in the back of your mind as we move on today. But today is it's 6 in the morning and the train is rolling through town where I'm at now, and it's April 22nd. It's a Sunday. And but how often do you, 2018, by the way, okay, April 2nd, 2018, so I can clear that up. But how often do you truly try to discover your strengths by looking for some outside source to give you the strength that you think you are lacking? Well, can we personally really, like I said, transform these hopeless and lacking thoughts that are controlling our scarcity, this mindset, scarcity mindset that's controlling how we live our lives? This is a question that may seem complicated, and for many, because much of humankind for centuries has been looking somewhere, like I said, out there to bring us prosperity and all the things we want in life, right? Well, previously I discussed at a webinar the other night, which, by the way, I hope that you'll join, and you can find out more about that at my website. But many people live by asking and searching externally outside themselves. Perhaps maybe it's like you, that, I'll get that new career or that promotion, and, I'll start that new business I've been thinking about for the last several years. I'll get it started, and I'll do this and I'll do that to have the love of my life or whatever. But so what does it take to discover your inner power and your strengths from within, and to get the life that you really want while you're in this world? And I say while in this world because the ego-based mind, that fearful and self-doubting Thomas part of us, that judgmental aspect in us, doesn't understand eternity and infinity, and it will never understand it. And as humans, we never will. But if we let it flow across our mind, not our brain, we can understand it a little more. And what I mean is, be it physical or psychological or emotional strength, let's say, to discover your real strengths, you know, it's not somewhere out there to be found. And this is why I urge you to seek out mindfulness meditation exercises for reaching that alpha state within, to listen for answers and to bringing forward your dreams to reality. You see, when we pray, we've been taught in prayer to ask for something to be brought to us. Well, we don't have to disregard that at all. Prayer is good. It's the asking, but let's ask within. Ask within that we may hear the answer. Ask within. And meditation then is a separate entity of the process. Meditation, therefore, allows you to listen for the answer after prayer has been made. Does that make sense? I hope so. Because if you don't know how to practice mindfulness meditation, I like the 7-minute mindfulness meditation, which I've included at it's at my blog. And if you, any of my articles at my blog, you will find much on meditation. So you're not leaving you out in the cold there. It's all over the place because I so wholeheartedly believe in it and want to extend that to you. And it's so early in the morning, I'm going to take a sip of coffee right now. Don't you love the smell of coffee first thing in the morning? But I mean, bring forth what you want, and leave behind what you do not want is what meditation can help you do. But this is not about meditation. Have you ever had the strong urge, though, to make a statement that you know something is true, and your own conviction in the matter is just burning in your heart, but you still seek additional support that you're just not able to get, and then the subject becomes buried? Because people don't want to listen to it, because you may be digging too deep. People don't want to go deep because people in this world are ego-based. The ego can't go deep. It lives on the surface. Does that make sense? Well, you can find more on the ego in my books too, but my books are mainly how to help you overcome that ego and uncover the light that the ego is blocking. But such a statement made by our ego-based self of a physical nature, and trying to prove ourselves, or verbal messages for asking to bring something to us from something way up there somewhere that's going to deliver us the life that we want. It's the life that you have or that you want to get is already within you to create. But it seems, that we must always be pointing to the past as a reference for the support we need. Don't you think? And then we regret the past and we're trying to now look to the future. But we seem to want to bypass the now. It's like, okay, if you have idols, IDOL, an idol, idols that you look to in order to discover your own strengths, to find your own strengths, then how many idols must there actually be in this world then? I mean, what is so essential? Let me ask you a few questions. 3. Number 1, what is so special about an idol? And what does one truly do for you? An idol, in the true sense of the word. Do you really understand where the power lies in an idol? An idol is just something physical. There's no mindfulness to it. Do you really understand that, what is in your thinking at times makes you feel that the life you imagine is hopeless? So you might pray to an idol to bring it to you? Well, the answers to these questions contain just a lot of uncertainty. And our uncertainty is what gives an idol its power, which is illusory, is illusion, the power. There is no idol. Nothing outside of you is for real. And I don't mean your body, I mean you, within you. By the way, if you remember that, what I had said from A Course in Miracles, and by the way, let me add to that, what A Course in Miracles also states is that an idol is a false impression or a false belief that the ego uses to keep the past alive. We somehow want to just keep worshiping the past so we can get to the future. But we want to bypass the present moment or the now, which is really a reflection of eternity. The now is the best that us humans can understand. Eternity and infinity is now, because there's no time in what is now. But we as humans cannot understand that, and that's okay, because if you try to dissect it like some kind of a college project, it's not going to happen. You're going to just lead into more separation, and eternity and infinity is whole. So don't try to dissect it. Let it flow over your brain. But to find, not your brain, I'm sorry, let me back up. Still early in the morning. But to override the ego, to just let it flow over your mind. Let it flow over your inner essence of who you really are without thinking too much about it. You know, idol worship constantly, a body, we could say it is, a thing, a place, a situation or circumstance, the news, the evening news, the morning news, you know, the latest things going on in a newspaper, an object owned or wanted, something that we desperately want or wish for, or even a right that we think is demanded to us. Those are idols. But all that we need and all that we want in life is within us. We don't need an idol. What is within us was given to us in the creation. And it's ours to just tap into. Does that sound a little complicated? Well, if it does, that means that you're placing too much emphasis on the body as who you are. And that is ego-based. But we're all ego-based. Not pointing the finger at you, because I'm on your side. You know, letting go of idols. Let's talk about that. Letting go of idols is letting go of the ego-based mind. Don't let an idol's form deceive you from what your true calling is, your true free will, your life of purpose. Do not let the form of an idol deceive you from what it is you want to do in life, or may we say, a life of purpose. You know, in some manner, we believe that an idol can complete our inferiority, don't we? Don't we believe that some outside source, an idol, can complete what we feel lacking within us, our inferiority, and make us feel safe in a world that's perceived as dangerous, a world that we projected and assumed to be dangerous, filled with forces that we assume that threaten what we assume, that threaten our assumed peace? No, nobody can take away the peace of mind that's already within you. And you know, that's what so many people that have passed through time have tried to teach us. We feel an idol directs us to live a life of purpose. You know, an idol not an idol. Someone may say some words. Someone may speak to you. Ancient scripture may inspire you to live a life of purpose. But there's nothing physical that's going to bring it to you. We believe our idol worship has the power to supply our lacks. In other words, to get rid of our lacks and supply us with abundance. We think some idol is going to give us abundance and give us value that we think we just cannot attain on our own. But when we have an idol, it is in a way, it is that we're just imprisoning ourselves, enslaving ourselves, if you will, imprisoning ourselves to littleness and to loss, and, you know, just never really discovering our strengths because we're too afraid to uncover the light of our strength. Our belief in an idol just blocks our inner light. But you will try to seek beyond your little self for the strength to raise your head that may be seen as accomplishment. Well, you know, instead, perhaps you enslaved yourself so low, you've imprisoned yourself so low, you've shackled yourself. You actually, in your own little prison cell that you made for yourself, that you actually did achieve to rise a little bit above the level the world thought that you might achieve. What I'm saying is, maybe the world demanded that you do this and you do that, whether it's your family, friends, a loved one, or whatever, or just some kind of peer pressure or whatever, demanded that, put the pressure on you that you had to do something, and you did it. And if it's not really what you want to do, excuse me, it's a little early morning congestion as I sip on the coffee again, but as you as you maybe achieve that little goal to satisfy other people, did you really satisfy your inner wholeheartedness? Is it really what you wanted to do? Or are you just living a life of loathsomeness? Not lonesomeness, loath, L-O-T-H, loathing, a life of self-loathing, or complacency because you're trying to please other people. By pleasing other people, you are looking to an idol. The other people become your idol. Pamela and Darren of Clovelly, England, does that make sense? I know it does to you because they understand and they just wanted to bring it forward. But by the way, anyone listening, if you want me to talk about something next week, please leave a message at the contact page at my website, jamesnussbaumer.com, or if you're at YouTube, leave a message there. And please subscribe to my YouTube channel. In fact, do it right now while you're listening to me. Go ahead, click subscribe right now. I was taught to do that. Anyways, idol worship, idol, I-D-O-L, worshiping an idol has a goal opposite of the Holy Spirit, a traditional term I use for your inner divine guidance system. And A Course in Miracles uses that too, that traditional term, and I like that because it's an extension of God. And I just say God, G-O-D, because that's what I'm used to. You can use any word you want, any letters in the alphabet you want to describe your inner essence, the creation of all things. But it's most commonly known as God. And I like to say God because that's what I'm comfortable with. And I'm not going to change that. But neither am I going to argue with anyone who wants to use a different terminology. It doesn't matter. It's the meaning behind the word, right? But idol worship, worshiping an idol has a goal opposite of the Holy Spirit's goal of bridging, which he's constantly bridging our perception to knowledge. He's bridging our assumptions and our projections, and we perceive things over to knowledge. So we know within, but can't explain it, but we know. Does that make sense? Your own idol, your own worshiping of idols strives to build its own bridge from past to future, like I said earlier, with a bypass that goes over the present now of eternity and infinity. Yes, all we want to look at is regret the past and look forward to the future, but not worry about now. When we're always living now, as Eckhart Tolle would say in his book, The Power of Now, when we're always living in the now, we are here in eternity. Don't think about it too hard, because then that ego sneaks in the back door on you to try to tell you how crazy and insane that is, when the ego is crazy and insane itself, because it's a surface level thought system that cannot go deep. It has no deepness. There's no depth to the ego-based mind. Only spirit has depth. Well, I'm going to repeat that. Like I said, your own idol worship strives to build that bridge from past to future. But it also builds a bypass over the present now because it doesn't understand the now. And it's afraid. The ego in us, which represents our idols, does not want to know anything about the now. Oh, that's hogwash. That's baloney. There's no such thing as the now. There's only a past. There's only a future. There's nothing in between. There you go. That's the ego-based mind. And if you're going to allow that to occupy your life, guess what's going to happen? You're going to be living in the past, and you're going to be fearing the future. The only way to get out of regretting the past, and the only way of getting out of fearing the future, is to stay always right now, here in the present moment. And that is what many masters, like Jesus himself, was here to teach us. But it's taking years for us to grab onto that. Hey, I hope this made sense as I close. You know, let me add that the ego doesn't see any benefits in the now. The ego only sees prosperity and abundance in the future. But if you are looking at the now and you're doing what you have to do now, all of a sudden everything comes to you now. Because the universe wants to give it to you now. Does that make sense? Hey, by the way, please join my newsletter, Everyday Miracles newsletter. There's links all over the place to show you how to join. Please support my work. I hope you appreciated this brief podcast today. It's called For a Better Life. We're expanding on it, going places. By the way, I'll be at the Transformation Conference in Eureka Springs, Arkansas in August. You can find out more on that at Ozark Mountain Publishing Company. It's ozarkmt.com. Transformation Conference. I'll be one of several authors speaking for about 90 minutes, and I get a great talk going on. It's a 3-day conference. Plus, I'll be giving one-on-one private sessions for 30 minutes and 60-minute sessions while I'm there, just talking about things that you'll find on the website at ozarkmt.com. And when we get around to it, I'm going to post that on my own website too. Coming here soon, but it's not posted yet. So I hope you'll join us. Hey, I've got plenty to offer you. Please support my work. I've run a little overboard now, and I got to run. So I wish the best for you. James Nussbaumer signing off. God bless.